Thanks for tuning in. This is our town hall forum. We just wanted to get a few minds in the same room with a few different perspectives to talk about what's going on and how we can best move forward from what's going on. What can we do? A lot of people are right now confused. Should you protest? A lot of people right now are protesting. I want to, first of all, commend you guys who have the passion to go out and show your support. But we will address if responding to something in 2020 the same way you responded to it in 1960, is that the most efficient manner to go about things today? Um, we have a lot of people in the room, so I'm going to do a quick introduction. We'll start with our host. You guys probably know her, Nicole Brittany. She is an author on our self-healing book, and right now, self-healing is necessary for us to move forward because we will have to start trusting each other in order to share the dollar with each other. But first, you have to trust yourself. A lot of that comes from broken issues, which Miss Brittany will be highlighting. Right under her, we've got Thomas White. Thomas White is a father. Right now, his son is about 13 years old. He is very aware of what's going on. He has energy to put toward this right now. So we'll be talking to him about what advice he's giving his son. We'll be speaking with Jonesy Blue. Jones, give him a wave. Let him know who you are, baby.
How you doing, man? Jonesy Blue. I'm an independent recording artist out of Richmond, Virginia, as well as a co-host of the Skincast podcast on YouTube every Monday night at 9 p.m. And yeah, man, I'm here to discuss what I feel like the youth needs to do and what we need to do as a people to move forward. So yeah, I'll be more.
Thank you. Thank you for being in the building. We have Lou, the realtor. Lou is actually going to speak to us because I am convinced that land acquisition is the answer to all of this, or part of the answer to all of this. And I believe that a lot of misconception around real estate is that you need a lot of money or you need a lot of credit. You don't need both if you have a unified movement. If you have a lot of people that has a pair of Jordans in their pocket, they want to do the same thing. What are the possibilities? So we will talk about that. Right under her, we have Brian Lewis. Brian Lewis, please say hello to the people.
Hi, good evening. How you doing? Again, Brian Lewis. I'm an engineer, of course, based out of Charlotte. So happy to be here. Happy to share. That's what I learned.
Cool. Thank you so much. Brian has actually been invited on the panel because Brian is very, very passionate about legislation being the correct way to handle this. So we will talk about that. We'll explore that avenue. There are people who agree. There are people who strongly disagree. We'll talk to both of those people. Chris, are you still in the building?
Yes, I'm still here, man.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Chris. Chris is actually on the exact opposite side of Brian, because he is not one of those who believes that legislation alone can handle this. I don't believe that Brian alone thinks that legislation alone either, but they can both tell you their stances when they speak. And I have one other person here. Ray, are you in the building? Technical difficulties. Hold on, let me check. Okay, we have him join us a little later, but his perspective is very, very interesting as he is the leader of a biracial household. So we will talk to him about his feelings at this time, what advice he gives to his household at this time. So first, we're going to start out with Jonesy Blue. Jonesy, how you let us know how you're feeling about the climate right now, and what would your message to the youth be, both to a lot of the youth listens to hip hop right now, and they're probably thinking, should they go protest? What should they do? Should they sit at home? Should they throw a brick? Should they do absolutely nothing? Should they just keep rolling up and act like nothing's going on? What should they do?
Nah, man, definitely, man. So, in my opinion, like I said, over the course of this past week, I felt every emotion you could possibly feel in this situation. I've been angry, I've been sad, I've been a little ashamed of certain things, I've been proud of a lot of things, I think that there definitely is an importance in action, but I think there's also an importance in focus. And I think that's the ultimate thing that it looks like it's been missing. It's a lot of people wanting to burn things down, but you're not burning things down with a purpose. You're not focusing where you're trying to do. And that's why it's so easy to say it's a riot or say it's chaos, say all these other things that the media are portraying and get our real message lost within everything. So I think my biggest message for the youth is to sit back, assess the situation, notice that there are people out there that are not for the cause, and they may look like they're coming there with you to help, but they're also inciting a riot and doing all these other things that's diluting your message. And I think once you understand that, you can come up with a clear plan and figure out what you really need to do and what's going to be effective. Because honestly, anarchy, I wouldn't say is it.
Okay, cool. So, contrary to most rap lyrics, maybe not yours, but contrary to most rap lyrics, anarchy is not the answer.
Not if it's not focused.
Not if it's not focused. Okay, cool. I totally agree with that. Just because in my life, I spent a lot of my life being a professional antagonist. With that being said, I know when I'm being antagonized. If somebody wants you to do something, don't do it. Somebody bigger than you keeps saying, hit me in the face. It might feel good to take that swing, but it might not be smart either. So right now we got a lot of people running down to the riots, but they're not riots. We're running down to peaceful protests, but people are rioting and then blaming the people who came down to the peaceful protest. So an easy way to stop that is if nobody showed up to the peaceful protest, there'd be nobody else to blame it on but the people rioting, I believe. So I thank you for that contribution. I totally agree with that. Up next to speak, we did have a young lady who her sons are at the age where they can make independent decisions on activism. They were around the age of 17 to 19. She was going to speak to us. She actually got admitted to the hospital. So we're going to keep her in our prayers this evening. But at the end of the day, she also had a small business that was vandalized. But it was vandalized with you know what I'm saying, it had nigger spray painted and stuff like that. So my thing is, if this is a Black Lives Matter movement, we know who did that and who didn't do it. But if a bunch of Black people ran down there and said, hey, we're having a peaceful protest, it's real easy to frame you for it. You know what I'm saying? So instead of protesting, what are some options that we have? And here is where I want to go ahead and speak with Brian Lewis. Brian Lewis, let's talk about some of the options that we have. I know you are very big on legislation. So how you feel about that?
It's pretty simple. It's a lot of the stuff that we've already been taught. You get legislation by putting people in power that have like minds and that most closely relate to your value, your core values. If you're utilizing, your rights and your ability to be able to vote and your voice as far as being able to interface with the elected officials, like that goes a long way. What's so frustrating to me is that a lot of people know about, of course, the right to vote, but for whatever reason, the consistency level isn't there. So as it pertains to this most recent social unrest, I guess I'll term it that way, you have at the local level, these community police is what I guess it was what they call themselves, and then also local law enforcement deciding to kind of take the law into their own hands, and that's an issue. But when you kind of focus the light and you focus the mirror back on us as people, local elections, state elections are not very well participated in, especially within the African American community. And I think that's an area of opportunity for us if we have the ability to be able to protest and speak truth to power in that way. I feel like another way of being able to doing that is to hold elected officials accountable for their action or their inaction as it pertains to issues that most closely affect our communities. So that's a very, very, in my opinion, low-hanging fruit. It's an easy thing to do. In my opinion, there's been a lot of progress that's been made as it pertains to the accessibility of the vote. You have the ability to vote early. I know in my home state of Virginia, you have 45 days to vote if you decide that you want to vote early via absentee, balloting by mail, or in person. Unfortunately, that's not advertised as well as it should be, but the information is definitely there, and people have the ability to be able to do that so that it, you know, works in a person's favor as far as the scheduling stuff is concerned. But I really do think that we got to do a better job of holding elected officials accountable for their lack of productivity as far as how they serve our communities. And a great way to do that is to remove them from office if we're not happy with what it is that they're doing. Another key point to voting is that a lot of these positions of leadership are appointed by elected officials. So, for example, district attorneys, you have the young man Ahmaud Arbery, who unfortunately was murdered down in Georgia. And the district attorney in that particular jurisdiction held on to the information and the evidence that she had for weeks because she knew the alleged murderer. And I have a problem with that. Well, she was appointed by the mayor, who was an elected official. The same goes for police chiefs. The position of police chief most of the time is appointed by the mayor. Your sheriff in most jurisdictions or in many jurisdictions are voted in by the electorate. So, I mean, these are people that we can hold accountable just by virtue of checking the box on a consistent basis when the time comes available.
I totally agree with that. I believe that we should be voting for elected officials, not only the president, but at lower levels because they're the closest ones to you, so they have more effect on your day-to-day lifestyle. But what would you say, before Chris will be next to speak, but what would you have to say to someone who says, the reason why I don't participate in politics is because the politician himself they're not held accountable to upholding what they said while they were campaigning. So let's say they campaigned on, saying that they were going to build a school and like right here on the end of my block. And they say this for 4 years. And I'm like, okay, great. They said, as soon as you vote for me, I'm going to build that school. Then we vote them in and they don't build the school. They're not even, not only do they not build a school, but they're not held accountable for building a school. Nobody cares if they build a school or not. And they can really do whatever they want. How do you keep your faith in government knowing that stuff like that happens?
Good question. So my answer is going to be two pieces. The first part is that we have the ability in most elections to choose the people who run for office. So there are primaries, not just at the presidential level, but also at the state and at the local levels as well. So you have the ability to choose who's going to campaign for your vote in the November general elections. So, I mean, if you have a choice of candidates, then it behooves the electorate to make sure that they're consistently engaged and make sure they're consistently voting, so that they can have a say in who is even campaigning for their vote. So that's number one. Number two, voting is just the beginning. So, I mean, what it is that I believe, everything's comprehensive. It's not just one answer. So, I mean, once the vote is done, there are meetings that elected officials have, whether it be at the local level, you have city council meetings, you have school board meetings, you have the ability to interface with these people while they're in office, and you can let them know how they're doing or not doing as far as, what it is that they campaigned on. If it's something that they necessarily didn't campaign on, and it's something that you still think needs to be addressed, you can tell them, you can let them know.
So we need additional interaction. Not only do we need to vote, but additional interaction with these officials to even check out their moral fiber. A lot of these people these people are working for you. These elected officials work for you. Interview them, call them, talk to them. They are going to pick up the phone because you a taxpayer. You pay their bills. Like they have to answer the phone. So Brian, that's a really, really good point. And I thank you for your words today. And
All right.
we'll come back to you during the wrap up. Appreciate it. Chris,
What's going on, man?
how do
Uh,
you feel? How you feel is the best way forward here?
so I'm a little different than Brian. I think we've talked a little bit about this. I want to give respect to the portion about legislation. I do think that that portion is necessary. But I'm gonna give you like a little analogy that's been going through my head. So we have like two roads, one long road and one short road, and I think of these as the different ways that we can approach these situations, and the way that we have been approaching them. The long road has its hills and valleys, but it's relatively a smooth ride. Comes with GPS, but it takes forever to get to the destination. Then you have the short road, where you can literally see the destination within eyesight. It's there, you can see it, but there's trees, there's animals, there's other obstacles that are in your way, where you have to chop them down versus just driving on a steady road. Me personally, I'd rather take the short road, in the sense that, and maybe it's the illusion of seeing the destination with my eyes right there, but I'm chopping down the trees, and that's my route. I want to see the fruits of my labor while I'm here. I don't have any kids or anyone to pass anything down to.
Mm,
Um, you know, I need something, some kind of hope to look forward to.
mm,
I want to see it now.
right.
Um, it's so there was a quote that I had also saw that came across. I'm not really sure who had said it, but it kind of goes to what I'm gonna lead into now, and it's that we're not outnumbered. We're out organized,
Oh, absolutely. I
and
believe it was Malcolm X.
right, and that's where we really got to get back to. So what does that really mean from just talking about it to having an action, right? That
Mm.
means stop posting all your plans on social media. Stop using Twitter to say, "Hey, we're going to be here." This is going to be protection, right? This is going to be protecting yourself with VPNs and knowing what you're looking at and what you're saying and how you're saying it.
What's a
Right?
VPN, real quick, for
A
all the people who
VPN
might
is
not
just,
know?
it's a technical thing. It's a way for to you to appear in a different location or to appear with a different IP address. So, I mean, an
Okay.
example would be that if I'm going on Facebook and I'm attached to the VPN, the Facebook wouldn't necessarily know my identity or IP address to know that I'm here and where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? I would appear in a general location or location that I specify so that they wouldn't know exactly where this post is coming from, for example. But there's
So
different.
use how learn how these tools work. The tools that might be working against you, you should learn how they work. So that definitely pertains a lot to technology, as data is, I think, the highest value commodity on earth. It just passed oil a couple months ago. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. But that being said, it's obviously worth something. So you should figure out how to protect yours. So
Exactly.
Chris, I definitely agree with you, and I appreciate your contribution. We'll come back around. We'll swing back around to you when we wrap up.
Sounds
Um,
good.
right now, I'm going to cover a couple of the dads in the situation, and then we're going to lead up to a new mommy. But first, the first dad, we're going to talk to Thomas, as he has a young teenager coming up right now. And we know teenagers have the most energy and maybe the least amount of world understanding or maybe life understanding. But you got energy. Like, you tell a 15-year-old to push a car and the car is going to move by itself. So, with that being said, how do you instruct someone with that type of energy? How do you encourage them to channel it, Thomas?
Yes. So, one of the things that I do with my son is I just try to teach him without me letting him know specifically what I'm having him do. I just don't do it initially. I just try to just basically get him to do things unbeknownst to him. So over time, he will grasp the importance of what he's doing.
So,
And yeah.
I'm about to say, so as far as how do you, I guess, subliminally teach him about what's going on now then?
Well, basically, the things that led to me giving him more advice about what's going on is just seeing, the more recent events that were coming on. Because I mean, we've seen numerous things happen. A lot of these pointless killings, from the police force. And after seeing the Aubrey killing up with the young black male that got killed, just minding his business, at that point that I knew I needed to speak to my son just thinking about what he's doing and just being more aware of what's happening. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So like, the one of the things that I wanted him to think about was nonverbal communication, because there's a lot of things that you do without even saying any words, but your whole facial expressions, your body language, these are things that can happen without any verbal words being done, and just that quick you can lose your life because people don't care about excuses or anything like that. So some of the subliminal things that I was teaching him was just helping him start to just think about being aware. So anytime he would do something, every once in a while I'll just check up on him just to see like, did you feel my presence? Did you notice that I was there, so he can start to understand?
So you make sure you just make sure he's sharp from you sharpen his senses from a self-awareness standpoint.
Yeah.
So that's actually awesome. We do have to teach our young lessons that they don't teach in school. That's definitely something that he wouldn't get in school. And he would either learn that through trial and error or through instruction. So it's good that you're providing that level of instruction. I did want to address the media as well. A lot of this is servicing, and I know a lot of these injustices deserve attention. But at the same time, we should really ask ourselves too, if the same people have been controlling the media for the last 200 years, and the same amount of racism has been happening for 400 years, how is everything surfacing in a week's time for you to then react to it? Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't react, but I'm saying you should react carefully, as a reaction is obviously expected. You see what I'm saying? So just be aware of the media, and part of self-healing will probably be isolation of some degree. But I won't give away the secret sauce at the end. I will tell a quick message to law enforcement. I know I saw a lot of pictures of police kneeling down and standing on the wrong side of the picket line, and that's cool. That's admirable probably to some people. But personally, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see the same energy they put toward eradicating criminals from the streets. I need to see that same energy put toward eradicating criminals from your payroll. So if you can tell me the name of a police officer or lawyer or judge that you snitched on, then fantastic, because your life is revolved around snitching on the citizens. And that's cool. I understand that you just want to keep a strong moral fiber, but just make sure that you say something every time you see something, even amongst those around you, because if not, you just another dirty cop. But that being said, we're going to go on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is actually a professor at the University of Tampa, another father, but this father has a little more of a unique dynamic. Ray, are you in the building?
Yes, I'm here. How you doing? How's everybody doing?
How you doing, man?
You got a lot of face in the screen. I'm sure we can edit that later. Ray, right now, you are the leader of a biracial household.
Yes.
What advice do you give to your child, or what preparations do you make? Like, how do you feel as a father? What advice do you give? All of that.
So, just piggybacking a little bit off of what Thomas was saying, I actually have a daughter who is in the 7th grade, and then my son is about 2.5. And so you got a school age, and then you have a non-school age, kind of wherever it's cheap, you know what I mean? But basically, I think it is something that is a little bit different in terms of the kinds of things. I mean, especially for my son. I mean, that this is more just prep work. I'm really just kind of soaking up, reading, trying to understand as much as I can, so that as he does age and become more aware, and I can have those conversations with him, I can be a little bit more prepared. Now with my daughter, and the reason I mentioned the school age thing is because there's a lot of things that are already kind of started to filter their way or make their way towards her through the classes she's taken. I remember we had a short conversation one time about Martin Luther King. She said, "Yeah, we're learning about, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Yeah, so just give me, a couple of quick bullet points." And I mean, she ran them down. I mean, she she knows it, but it's just it was, it's still disheartening when you hear that, and then that, okay, when I was in school, they were still teaching that same cookie cutter type stuff, in terms of, bullet points, and then this is just the quick facts, not much context behind, and not much context behind the stories, or the depth really in the real suffrage and the real struggling that went on. And so it's just one of those things where when we have that conversation, I want to go deeper with her, but I do also want her to get a little bit older. I mean, 7th grade is a time, but it's not quite there yet where she's going to understand a lot of the concepts that I'm trying to explain to her and break down for her. But those conversations start, and I think that it's, as a father, it's eye-opening in terms of that kind of pressure to feel like, okay, how do I know I brought them up to speed as far as where they're at and where they need to be.
Right. And that's
am I behind track, or
that's a good segue, because that's exactly what I was going to ask. Because like, when your daughter comes home and she says, she gives you, what we learned about Martin Luther King, and I'm like, at what age do you tell her, like, you don't want to say, "Hey, Santa Claus,"
yeah,
or like, "Hey,
yeah.
the government put them down, bro." Like,
right.
and when
Right.
do you like shoot that off? Like, is that something you instantly want to say, or do you want to like just like kind of appreciate her for the knowledge that she has, or what do you do, and when is it okay, you feel like, to like pull the cover back? You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, I think that's kind of like, one of those $1,000,000 questions, in terms of, it's almost like when, I'm not comparing it in a literal sense, but, when trying to figure out when to have the talk about the birds and the bees, and it's one of those things where, since there is no book or any program anybody can kind of read up on and then know the exact, age or time, it's kind of one of those things where you feel it out. And I know that once she is ready, or she's getting closer to being ready, I'll kind of know it and I'll kind of sense it, because then I think the feeling is different. When you're reading stuff and you're being taught things,
Oh
especially
yeah,
at
yeah,
grade,
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
it's more of let me just try to look smarter than my friends, and then it's more so, um, when she gets to that next level of thinking, then it's going to be a lot deeper, because maybe she'll have experiences with actual impact to kind of rely on, really.
True. Cool. I definitely appreciate you for sharing that.
Hey, just one
Oh, I'm so glad it's audio.
correction to my bio. I am not a professor at the University of Tampa. I'm an instructor. Okay, I'm let me, because if that got around and someone was, I'm not that high up yet. I do teach a class, but I'm more of an instructor type. So just wanted to.
All right, everything that holds something together, I'm gonna call it glue. Anything that give out directions at a college, I'm gonna call it a professor. But we preaching that into existence. You're gonna get there. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna talk to you how you gonna be, not how you are. You know what I'm saying? It is Professor Barry, but not copyrighted. We don't have the rights to this title or this music. So next, on the talk, I believe that a lot of what's going on is due to our dependency on, as a human being, you only need food, finance, and that other F, probably fornication. But the first two are right now, if let's say over a protest overnight, all the Walmarts caught on fire, 80% of the black people would die in 4 weeks, because we are so dependent from a food standpoint and even from a financial standpoint. But first, we're going to address from a food standpoint. The only thing stopping us from, maybe stopping everybody from having their own food, is land. So land is usually, oh my gosh, let me fix my credit, let me get my cash right. That is usually right in a lot of cases, but it's wrong in a lot of cases too. If the right amount of people with $250 in their pocket wants to throw it in a certain place, what could we do with that? What could we really do with organization with our dollars? Because right now, the black dollar has the most improvement to make as it pertains to the circulation in our community before it leaves our pockets. I don't want to go deep into statistics, but I do want to introduce our next speaker, Lou the Realtor. Lou, you here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me good?
Absolutely, absolutely. Hello, Lou.
How you doing?
I'm blessed. Lou is actually an expecting mommy for the first time, so congratulations.
I'm glad.
Congratulations. So, Lou, first I want you to speak from, you're not a mom yet, correct? You don't have
Correct.
children? Okay. How do you feel from the perspective of somebody without kids about to bring a child into a world of this type of climate? How do you, like, what are some of the thoughts that go through your mind on maybe a day-to-day basis these days?
Well, one, I am 100% activist. So, however the case may be, whatever they're doing in this moment, they are totally entitled to those feelings just because of the suppression and the systemic racism that we've experienced over the years. Not saying I would go down there because it's unsafe for me. I'm 8 months pregnant. Like, it's the middle of a coronavirus, okay? I don't know if everyone's forgetting about that as well. I don't know if it just disappeared. What's up? But even still, it's absolutely terrifying bringing a child into this world. Not only that, but he will be a black man. Not only that, I am raising him with a black man as well. So when it comes time to bring a child into a world with so much turmoil, then I have to explain to him at a certain age or start having those conversations like, this is what you do when you get pulled over. This is what you do when you come into these types of situations. This is how you respond. I won't always be there with you. I'll try to get there as soon as I can, but having to go into these types of conversations and like similar to what Ray was saying, I feel like personally I'm going to have those conversations way before 7th grade. Like I have to, just because of the type of climate we're in, just more so as far as it being a male, just all of those types of things. So it's absolutely terrifying.
I totally understand that. I actually, so my mom raised me as a single mother, and the times today, the climate today isn't too much different from how it's always been. And I remember at the age of 5 years old, my mom had me watch this movie called Cornbread, Earl and Me. It was Lawrence Fishburne's like first movie, is in black and white. But either way, um, he's like the star of a basketball team is playing in the park. There's a robbery like nearby. The robbers run through the park. They don't know who did it. They end up shooting Cornbread, who is about to go to the league. And I'm watching this movie, and I remember asking my mom at the end, like, yo, why did this happen? Like, why did they kill Cornbread? And like, my mom was just like, look, that's just the way it is. And I remember, like, even still, I'm sad at that response. Like, as a 32-year-old man, that response still saddens me because it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, the truth, I mean, it's really not to say that I agree or disagree with the age in which I kind of found out, because I was going to find out at some point. And I really respect my mother for telling me, for being the one, because like it was either going to be her or some fourth grader. And that is just not the way I, that's how I found some stuff out. So,
Yeah.
you know.
And even when I was like, I went to a predominantly white school when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade. I think it was 2nd grade. And I remember it was this little white girl. She had like a candy necklace, and I bit off the candy necklace, and her first response was, "Ew, black girl spit." Now,
that's not.
I didn't know. I didn't know what that meant. Like, I'm like, oh, we got different spit. Like, meanwhile, I have fairer skinned. My hair, that good hair, whatever that's considered, I call good hair, no split ends. But even still, like I have a finer texture of hair. So whereas even when I was at Highland Springs, like I was the quote unquote white girl, that's just been who I've always kind of been. So it's like to even be in those situations and still be too black and not even know what that means. Like, and I never told anyone until like later in life, but I'm like, dag, that's the first time I experienced racism. And I had no idea what it was, what it looked like, because we didn't have those conversations at home. Right. My mom didn't expect for those types of things to happen to me because of my skin, because of how I grew up, because I wasn't from necessarily the hood of hoods. Like,
and because we didn't go to a super diverse, it wasn't like Highland Springs is a black school, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, you were maybe considered the white girl because it's like somebody had to be white because we went to an all black school. So a lot of these things, like you didn't maybe experience racism until after high school because it's like, yo, everybody here is black. And
I didn't, because I went to an HBCU. So I'm saying I didn't experience it until I got
to shoulder still.
2013 was around the time. That's when I actually got into corporate, right after undergrad. And in my corporate positions, as I continued to climb the ladder, I was the only black person in every role, like assistant manager, 25 out of 25, store manager, 25 out of 25, like sales rep, 1 out of 14. Whereas even in the company of women, we could have a national sales meeting and have a whole banquet for all the women within the company because it was so little. So it's like you're having to figure out and learn how to navigate throughout those things, throughout those different times in life. It was definitely different. It taught me a lot, but coming from a black high school, black middle school, HBCU, it's like one of those things where you kind of have to learn really quickly.
Absolutely. So right now, one of the things we'd like to learn about is crowdfunding. If everybody right now give you a pair of phone posits, can you turn it into a farm and a house? Talk to me about it.
Yes, we definitely can. No, it works a little ways. I have it broken down into a few different ways. So we have different strategies, whereas residential and land, then you have a commercial strategy. So the overview for residential and land is to basically come together with a group of people and come up with a certain amount over time. The thought is longevity, though, because it may not always happen. I mean, depending on how much you want to get, and I'll get into that towards the end of the discussion. But you come up with an amount over time. The thought is longevity because it isn't an instant situation unless you have those stipulations. As far as residential is concerned, you would come up with a goal, whether it's 100K, 150K, 200K, etc., higher, lower, whichever. Then you would come up with the numbers, and whether you do it on a bi-weekly basis or a monthly basis, you would contribute to a pot. How long it takes to reach that goal based on the number of people you have in that pool is determined upon whatever figure you guys come up with. Then you reach that goal, and the first person up would be to get a house or a piece of land, and so on and so forth. When someone gets a piece of property, they would still contribute until the last person received their home. If they had extra money like tax time to contribute, you would address that situation too. So as far as land is concerned, you would do kind of the same thing. Now, kind of what you're talking about is a little different. For example, my boyfriend, he got together with some undergrad friends and they all put in a lump sum to buy a resort or to start a resort in Colombia. I think they gave $4,500 a piece. It was like 6 of them. And then they're using crowdfunding networks. So it's similar to GoFundMe, but for business is Indiegogo, Kickstarter, Crowdfunder. But for those types of things, you need like an LLC, tax ID, identification, things like that. but it sets it up in a more professional way for them to recognize your business as far as receiving the rest of the money.
Okay,
So it's like,
so from here, from our aspect, I guess, if we said, you know, Lou, what we looking to do is go and buy our own undeveloped land. We want to live off the grid. We want septic tanks, and we want solar panels, and we want some container homes and yurts, and we just gonna put them on top of the land and do it like that. Could we do it like that? Could you do that for raw land?
we definitely can, because it's the same way, whether residential or land, both are sold separately. So whether you go through a private owner or you go whereas you're contracting a real estate agent and we're going on MLS to speak on your behalf, things like that, it's all possible. Like, and then the more people you have, the more likely to do so, and the more bargaining you have. I mean, there's land for $5,000 and $10,000, and that's nothing.
Wait a minute. So you're saying people equal leverage in this thing?
I mean,
if I didn't want to gather all my friends and maybe walk to DC, and I said, hey, instead of walking, everybody just give me $200 so we can try to buy a little land. That's possible? Okay, I'm not telling everybody what to do, but all you bosses out there who I've seen you pose with that half rent money, that $250, what you need to do is something smart with it. Stop going to the weed man twice. Look, I ain't gonna tell you what to do. Listen, thank you so much, Lou. We will swing around and get our your contact information from the people and anybody who wants to contact you to try to maybe go forward with something like this.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. So on top of the land, we now have the land squared away. We can talk about food. Now, food is something that you can garden in your own backyard, but a lot of us don't have a garden, above ground garden. You don't know how to get it started, things of that nature. Give us, contact us. I will send you a link of where, if you are in the Virginia area, we can come and give you a quote for installing your above ground garden. So we can do that. We do, like, I recommend you plant anything you possibly can, any fruit, any vegetable, even weed, because it's hemp and it's legal mostly everywhere. And if it ain't, people act like it is. So go ahead, get your cash crop started. And last but not least, in order to even trust each other to pool money together, a lot of times we won't do business with each other. People who look like us, a lot of times we don't have the same amount of patience with Black businesses as we do other businesses. A lot of times I've seen that when we go into Black businesses, people will say, oh, I'm never coming here again, and go straight to social media and tell everybody how bad of a time they had. Okay, cool. A couple things. Have that same energy when white people piss you off. And two, really, you need to have a certain level of forgiveness, not only for other people, but for yourself. You're probably so hard on them because you're hard on yourself. So we will talk about the need of self-healing. Right now, the author of the book, Nicole. Nicole, are you still in the building?
I'm still in the building. I'm still here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your patience. Talk to us a little bit about self-healing. What is it? Why is it necessary? How can we do it?
Yeah. And I think somebody made a mention of low-hanging fruit. And I think that this thought of self-healing, of building up the relationships within the Black family, like that is very much low-hanging fruit. That is something that everybody can contribute to right away, starting today. And we definitely, relationships with one another, intimate relationships, trusting our brothers and sisters to go do business with one another, uplifting each other and recognizing each other's talents. These continue to be thorns in the Black community that we really we need to acknowledge, and we need to take the time to deal with, because all of the ideas that have been spoken about today, if we are not able to unite, and come together and have a respect for ourselves and a respect for our brother and a respect for our sister, we're planting on dead soil. And internally, like we really can't do anything. Nothing is going to flourish from that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is one of the most important, the most vital steps, and one of the kind of the easiest steps if we would just kind of educate ourselves a little bit better on emotional intelligence.
Okay, cool. So how would one, because I know for myself personally, a lot of my emotional intelligence came from isolation and YouTube. Like those two things really. I just really stopped talking to a lot of people, a lot of my friends. I stopped talking to everybody, and I was like, what is it that I don't know? Like, I started looking up videos on procrastination, videos on how to start conversations with people, videos, I mean, random things on learning, but now I know a whole lot more, and I had to unlearn some real toxic things in order for me to become my best self. So with that being said, how do you recommend people, move forward as far as self-improving in this, as far as self-education from a emotional intelligence standpoint?
Of course, and I think you hit it. Like, we are in the age of information, so there is a ton of information out there. There are if you like to read, there's a ton of books. If you like to, look on YouTube, there are a ton of speakers that will speak directly, like, to your issue. To, like, if you were abused as a child, you could probably find a speaker pretty easily that will speak to how they healed from that. And I think, looking for the education is one thing. I, of course, wrote my book, Uncovering Your Power, but a part of me writing my book is also developing a foundation where if you need resources, like, I will find them for you. I don't care how many people reach out to me. Like, I will help find you resources based on your specific issue. And I think that we need to start kind of uplifting each other, holding each other accountable, and looking out for our brothers and sisters in that way, because it's some people, it's like some hidden talent in our communities that are drowning in all of the hurt and all of the pain, and coming from broken households and being in relationships that have not been fruitful. And we are carrying all this baggage, but a lot of times we're kind of dumping it on one another. So I think that we could use each other. I think that there's a ton of research. I think that there are a ton of African-American counselors, therapists, psychologists that we need to start investing in this, even on a free level. You can invest and utilize your local church for that same sort of thing. So there are resources out there. When I needed resources, there are community resources, again, spiritual resources. There are things you can look up online on your own, all kinds of things.
I think the best thing that I have to contribute to that is audio books, people. I know as a culture, a lot of us don't have the attention span to sit down and flip pages. I'm one of them. I have fell in love with books in the last maybe 6 months. I probably read 15 books just thanks to audiobooks. Turn off your Netflix subscription and get an audiobook subscription. You can download as many books as you can listen to. If you cut off the Migos, look, I'm sure they're a great group, and I swear they're going to talk about the same thing for the next 4 albums, I promise. If you cut them off for the next 2 albums and pick up a couple audiobooks, that is where a lot of my growth happened. A lot of people really don't even, and I know you said self-healing in relationships, and a lot of times people aren't healed enough to be with another person. So, I'm saying, I'm serious. So when it comes to, like, a lot of people are in abusive relationships with themselves, first and foremost. So before they try to project that onto another person and say, oh, that person is abusing me, we need to break this down to a very fundamental level and take a look at ourselves. And I think that that would help how we communicate with each other, how we see each other, how we see ourselves. And honestly, it would probably solve a lot of problems with the Black dollar and how long it doesn't stay with us. So I definitely appreciate you. I appreciate your contribution. If we'll start with you, we'll start backwards and work our way back to the top. I know a lot of these people are following you. We're on your page right now, but for the people who missed it and maybe they had to catch you on YouTube, how can they find you? What do you bring to? What kind of help can you give to these people?
Of course, of course. My name on Facebook is Nicole Brittany. My Instagram business is Uncovering Power. And then my Instagram personal account is Nikki B. Diva. So those are all ways. I have a website, uncoveringyourpower.com. That is also a way that you can reach out. There's a form on there that you could fill out. I will consult with people. I have done so. I have really educated myself in this space. And then also a big thing for me is just I have partnered with organizations to help with self-healing, to help with relationship help. So I try for people that need it to give them a resource that they can really run with, and that'll be substantial for them.
Nice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nicole. Lou, if we want to put this money up, please tell us where to go. How can we contact you, Lou?
Page me. I'm just kidding. You can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook at Chelsea Brown MBA, YouTube Lou the Realtor RVA, and I currently have a series going on called Women in Business that highlights local women businesses in and around Richmond, Virginia. You can catch it on my Instagram Live, which is at Lou the Realtor _. Mondays at 4, Wednesdays and Fridays at 6, and then they're playing on my YouTube whenever you can catch them. That's Lou the Realtor RVA, Women in Business.
Thank you so much. Please, we need to empower these Black queens out here. Support anyone, all of them that you can.
That's what I'm doing. My brand is Empowered Women, Empower Women. So
straight up.
That's all I do.
What? You get the women to empower women, and I'm gonna get the brothers to empower women.
Look, we got it.
Sister and empower her, damn it. Who's next on here? I know we got a couple people still left. I'm trying to get the people with the products or services. Okay, me. Contact me if you want that above ground vegetable garden and you are in the Virginia area. Contact me on Facebook. Marcus Grayter, Grayter. You can find me on Instagram. That's at Marc Grayter, MarcGrayter. If you have a skill that you would like to monetize, but you don't really know how to do it, this is a lot of people right now. A lot of people, they just don't have enough confidence to maybe move forward because they have a product or service, but they don't know how to get it out to people. If that's your problem, contact me. I can help you out with that as well. Thomas, I know Thomas has some videography skills that are on display on the Greater ENT channel on YouTube. Thomas, where you at, baby?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes. So I'm a videographer. Well, in terms of career, I'm a computer programmer. I work for a company, IT company. But on my free time, also I do videography, and I'm a YouTuber as well. So I have two things, like you said. One of them is the Greater You podcast, and also I have a cooking show. It's called Eating Vegan with Tommy. I'm vegan, and I've done all of the edits, and I produce a lot of just content, and also pretty much as a digital creator. So any audio, video, any type of production that you're trying to do, if you have an idea, I can help put it in vision, reality.
He can look at some of those videos. If you see anything that you like, he did them all. So if you see one thing that you want, hit me up, hit him up. We can help you out. Brian Lewis. Brian, please share your contact information if you need any legislation information at all. Now, I'm not saying that he's gonna give you everything you need. People use Google for a lot of this. Don't just access stuff that you can get off Google. But if you would like to be advised in any way, Brian Lewis, where can we find you? He's going to be an alderman soon, everybody. He doesn't know it yet, but I'm voting for him. I'm going to write his name down. Brian, talk to us.
So, I mean, if you want to talk, I don't mind helping anybody. So, yeah, I mean, just hit me up on Facebook. My Facebook name is exactly what it is. It's Brian Lewis. So, anything I can do to help, let me know. I promise you I will. There's a lot of access to information that's out there. I'll try to do the best I can to point you in the right direction.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Oh, I'm reading the chat now. I'm sorry. Ray. I'm reading Ray's chat. Ray, you got a product or service you want to share with some of these people?
No, I mean, I really don't. I guess I got to work on that, but I will say, I mean, thank you for everyone's, info. I definitely am a follow back person, so I definitely am going to be getting all this down, copied, and information, and so you'll be looking out for me on Facebook, Ray Berry, as you can see, Instagram Berry_chill. But yeah, I mean, I'm always down for conversation or anything I can soak up or inspiration, all that stuff. So thank you all.
Cool, appreciate it. Well, thank you once again, everybody, for being here. Chris, thank you again for being here. Right now, I'm gonna end the live feed. So right now, all the public will be cut off. But right now, if anybody has anything that they want to continuously discuss or just talk amongst ourselves about, now is the time to do that. But everybody else, thanks for tuning in. We really thank you for coming. Hopefully, we've changed your mind or made you act a little more efficiently about your emotions. I'm definitely not saying you shouldn't have it. Let's just be smart about exercising it, all right? Thanks, people. Y'all be safe, be blessed. Don't be perfect, just be greater. See y'all. Oh, shit. Shoot. Did I even stop the recording?